I'm starting. Okay. So, Marsha, you was telling about that idea of Dr. Moreno that psyche is like enveloping us from the outside, something like
Well, and maybe it doesn't exist just in here, he used to say. Maybe it exists between us,
that.
because the relationship I have with you, Oksana, here would be different from the relationship I would have with my son who would walk in or something like that. Our encounter is different than my encounter with my son, but now you are in a role, and we know ourselves emerge from the role. So you are in the role of interviewer, I'm in the role of interviewee. That's where we are.
Yes, and perhaps if we meet during the workshop, we will have another roles, and it will be another encounter as well. And Masha, could you recall any ideas of Dr. Moreno concerning the, let's so say, inventive therapy? As what we are doing right now, we are somehow inventing this psychodrama online therapy. So
Yes.
maybe you can recall something about.
Well, it's exciting in many ways because he used to say we're at the brink of creation and we're all responsible for this co-creation. So each moment we're at the brink. So here we are at the brink of creation, you and I here and people in the conference. But I think this ambivalence that we have, should we do work online? Should we do work face-to-face? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? I think Moreno had that in his mind also, and I'll tell you why. One night in our training, I remember he said, one day at the push of a button, we'll be able to have a fisherman from Japan share the troubles he has with his son with a worker in Norway who has a similar kind of problem. So what we're doing here in the social network and the sociometric choices we make in the social network of like, rejecting, on what basis, and so on, the certain criterion that we use sociometrically. So he was excited about that. He was excited about bringing the recording machine to America when he came from Austria to get it patented and so on. So he came partly because of a machine and partly to bring his ideas to America. On the other hand, he used to say to us, don't trust machines, trust people and the creativity of the group. I remember that when we went into the theater, if you had a camera or a tape recorder, it never worked in the theater. And we used to laugh about that. You know, we tried to take pictures of the stage or each other and the camera never worked. So, so there's this ambivalence about, is it best to do it together face to face? Is it best to do it together online, which we're discovering? So that's a memory that I have. I also think about how is it that cultures are so similar to each other? I mean, when we think about, you know, I worked with Russian people and around the world, as many of us have in this conference. And Moreno used to say, well, the similarity between people is that the dyads we have with each other, the pairing, like all of us are a child or a parent. All of us have been employed or an employee. All of us have been a partner or a granddaughter or a grandson, or a student or a teacher, neighbor, citizen. So these are similar wherever you go all over the world. We interpret it differently from time to time. For example, in the Eastern world, almost every psychodrama has a mother-in-law in it. Because, you know, in some cultures, the wife moves into the husband's home,
Yes.
and there's the mother-in-law in it. So, but these similarities of diet,
The powerful figure of mother-in-law.
yes, but we can acknowledge it in Argentina, because in Argentina they have a mother-in-law too, so we can share on these very basic pairings.
And as far as I remember, Dr. Moreno also had this idea that the psychodrama could be of a kind of healing for the whole humanity. And it seems like right now we have these borders not so more flexible than when we were having just face-to-face therapy and face-to-face psychodrama. So do you think that psychodrama online could take this role of healing the world somehow, in a way?
What you say reminds me of the astronauts who went into space and looked back. And I remember Buzz Aldrin saying the only border that was visible was the Great Wall of China. Otherwise, we've made language difference, culture difference, you know, maps difference. And many of the astronauts who came back to Earth could not tolerate, you know, the differences that existed. Small little things, you know, like you have to park on the opposite side of the street or you're going to get a parking fine, or all these, you know, rules and things that we make. But yes, of course. And I think that the pandemic has created a place where we need the safety with each other. We need to support each other. We need the connection with each other. And it's given us that kind of gift in a way, which Gagarin used to call a terrible beauty when he went up in space. It was a terrible beauty. And we have with the pandemic a terrible beauty that's given us something very important and is taking away some of the people we love. Similarly, I might say that the internet, some of the disadvantages are our advantages.
Paradox. It's a paradox.
It's a paradox. For example, when we disconnect in our work, I remember somebody was just saying, women's voices don't count, and her audio just disappeared at that moment. So we have the cosmos oftentimes entering the situation. I remember playing the role of Moreno at one point, and on the screen it said J.L. Moreno, and my picture disappeared for a half an hour. Well, that's how it should be, because I was in another role. So there are these paradoxes, as you say. Sometimes, for example, we all have the advantages, of course, of somebody who has a disability. They can travel through the computer. Somebody who's far away. Somebody who needs the familiarity of the group, as we all do, and we get concentrated support. Another advantage for people who are afraid of therapy, sometimes it gives them anonymity. Nobody knows that they're there unless they're in the group. That's why we have the confidentiality. We know that person in the group, but they don't have to, you know, walk in the neighborhood or tell their family or whatever. A disadvantage, of course, is that some of us get disturbed in our homes by somebody sleeping nearby or somebody walking past, or but then we see people with a pet or a child who wants to have a look and so on. And so we see the familiarity
of the pets and their masters.
Of the pets and their masters. And that can be a great advantage because we feel we're with them in their, in their home. So it's an advantage and a disadvantage.
It's so interesting what you were saying about the internet connection and how it is changing, depending on the role you're taking on. Because for me, it sounds like there is something alive in this. Something alive in this.
In the machine.
Yes,
in the machine. It's the third party, isn't it? You know, and also this strange business of looking at ourselves while we're talking.
Yes,
that doesn't happen in the regular
I do
group.
that all the time. I don't know why. Why do I look at myself? It's strange, but I do that all the time.
I think most people do. And sometimes it's good to blank yourself out so that you're just audio.
Connected to the speaker. Then.
Yes, but we have a third party with us, which is the screen and the books and so on.
And going back to the conference, Masha, do you have any expectations? What are your expectations?
Well, I'm most excited to see Russian people doing their work because I think they're very advanced in the online groups. So I'm excited about that, and I have some myself Russian background, so Ukraine background, and so I'm happy to be here amongst you. I'm interested in looking at the peculiarities of working with the family. There's somebody doing that. Supervision, somebody's doing that. I think, if I'm honest, what I really want to be is together with everybody else. And looking how our similarities and differences connect together. And I think at this point, when you say, Oksana, you know, can psychodrama help this world right now? We're looking for globality, aren't we? And the being one. I'm not different from you because I can't see my child, I can't see my mom. I'm able to talk on the street with someone who I couldn't before. Right now, the UK, the whole of UK is today starting its second lockdown, which other countries have done. So we're sharing that together. And our connection, which is quite profound at this period. And yet, so is loneliness. So there's again the paradox.
The paradox.
Never felt more connected, never felt more lonely.
Yes, that's true for me as well, because we are not allowed to travel. We have these borders, but I've had more online meetings than ever in my life with people all over the world. And that's the paradox again. So thank you, Masha, for this meeting. Thank you for sharing your memories and your expectations. And we will see you, let's say in Moscow, in Zoom in Moscow then during the Psichodrama online conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Oksana. See you soon.
See you soon.